The participants, all the participants of the conference, journalists, we are starting our press phone conference. We are here to talk about our press conference 70 years after Operation North, important lessons of repression of faith. Participants: Kostiantyn Berezhko, historical science candidate; Igor Kozlovsky,
відділення релігієзнавства Інституту філософії імені Сковороди Національної академії наук України,
religious scholar in Ukrainian Academy; Liudmyla Fylypovych, doctor of philosophy, vice president of Ukrainian Religious Science Association, and Ivan Riher from Jehovah's Witnesses in Ukraine. Question to speakers could be sent to the number of WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is mentioned on the corresponding site. Now we would invite all the participants to start. And at first, Kostiantyn Berezhko, candidate historical science, and he will talk more about historical background of the happenings that are lying in the foundation of this conference. Thank you very much for the possibility. So if I briefly talk about what kind of happening, what is it, what kind of Operation North is it? I can tell you that the deportation north today is the biggest mass deportation in whole of the history of Soviet Union. In one night, Avakumov planned to exile from the western regions of Ukraine to the Siberia, approximately 8,000 people, simply because they were Jehovah's Witnesses. The deportation itself was planned as a military operation. They even made a map. They created a map I will show you now. This map shows places where the trains were stated and the number of people which were planned to deportate. We've seen what military unit, number 65, was to participate. About 2,000 military persons were involved. In Moldova, there were 3,000 military personnel. During this operation, which had two phases, which phase was 1st April on Moldova, Belarus, and Baltic countries. And in Ukraine, this was a part of Operation Trika. During this operation, in one night, approximately 10,000 people were deported. People had just 2 hours to collect their personal belongings, and they were exiled to Siberia. The travel itself continued approximately two weeks in very unhuman conditions, because the train cars didn't have any conditions suitable to humans. And several questions that were raised during this research: why Jehovah's Witnesses? Why such attention towards them? The thing is, Jehovah's Witnesses were not that mass represented in the Soviet Union. Most of them were in the Soviet Union, in the Western Ukraine. So They were simply best organized, best of all other religious organizations, and this constituted a challenge for KGB. So, for example, in the year 49, witnesses were told that to get registered, they need at first to print their literature in the party printers and then to comply with the lists of all members. And witnesses, of course, couldn't do it. How many were sent to Siberia altogether?
Я вам зараз покажу теж документи, щоб це було підтверджено.
I will show you the documents now so that we have it. We have the number of families now. From Ukraine, 308. Next document shows Moldova, 2,617. And from the Baltic countries, 270, 53 from Latvia, and 151 from Lithuania. So we, a group of historians, counted them, and we counted 9,793 persons. 9,793 persons. We don't have any data on Belarus because their archives are closed for researchers. What situation was for the believers back home? Were they also persecuted? Yes, they were. Witnesses in Siberia were told that they would be sent even further. They were already exiled, but they were told they would be sent even further. In Ukraine, you would get 25 years of prison if you kept believing. So why witnesses went into prison or got penalties? I will show you another document. The document shows that a believer should pay 50 rubles. Why? Because of the faith in God. So witnesses were suffering for the fact that they believe. Most Ukrainians today believe. And the religious literature that was destroyed and was considered to be anti-Soviet literature, Bible was among them. The Bible was considered to be anti-Soviet literature. So now, last question. Was this operation successful? No, it wasn't. Avakumov himself wanted to stop Jehovah's Witnesses in their activity, but it happened just the opposite. Witnesses became more. They grew, which showed that a totalitarian regime cannot really cancel faith within people. So what happened to Avakumov himself shows what actually happens. Avakumov himself was arrested after 3 months after this operation, and he was also executed. At the end, I would like to repeat what different speakers in different speeches yesterday already said, that the history of this society in the Nazi Germany, under Mussolini, and in Russia, they show that Jehovah's Witnesses can be used as a lakmus paper, as a test to show how country treats freedom of conscience. If you want to know how freedom of conscience is treated in a country, look at how Jehovah's Witnesses are treated.
Звучить так, чи наразі маєте ви вичерпну інформацію щодо операції «Північ» або ще є простір
My question is, is your information on the Operation North complete now, or do you see further perspectives on keeping research and finding new aspects? Thank you very much. Yes, this research has many new aspects and many perspectives. Literally yesterday, I found new facts, and we will keep researching these facts, compare documents from different republics. some documents we couldn't be able to view till now. And so this area has very many interesting facts, and we will keep developing, keep researching. I can assuredly tell that in a few months or years, we will have new facts which we can publish. Thank you very much for your response. We go to the next speaker, to the religious researcher in the Scientific Academy of Ukraine, Igor Kozlovsky. Please, Igor Anatolyevich.
Ігор Анатолійович, будь ласка, увімкніть звук, щоб ми вас добре чули.
Дякую.
Thank you.
Я продовжую цю думку, що
I will continue this thought.
Відношення до релігійної спільноти свідків Єгови –
The treatment of Jehovah's Witnesses could be viewed as a test for tolerance or totalitarianism. We really are living in times that could be called commemoration times. Commemoration is a process to keep the memory of important happenings, important for the nation, for the whole nation. I would like to stress it, not just for Jehovah's Witnesses, but for the whole nation. Any nation is what this nation remembers about themselves. We as a nation, we are what we remember about ourselves, about all the components. And this would include historical memory, cultural memory, religious memory, ethic memory, also culture of memory. There is even an area of studying of memory, memorologic. Any culture, any social group, any religious group is shaping and stabilizing its identity. And it does it through reconstruction of their past. We need to understand who we are, to see the qualities that have been developed during development of this or another nation. And it happens that we are reopening our past. We are rethinking it again. So we give to our past new life, filling it with new senses. And this is very important to understand our own meaning. So the reminiscences, it is not simply a given. They don't touch only past, they reflect on our now. It is building new social structure. So the culture of memory is a process which needs to include all the components of historical memory within one text. It concerns all different units, religious units, and also deportation of Jehovah's Witnesses in the year 51. So deportation of Jehovah's Witnesses is part of our memory, of our national memory, because it basically reflects all the processes characteristic for the development of this territory where we live, and the history of this territory, the history of this nation. So the memory helps to shape national identity. If we don't keep remembering these happenings, if we don't keep including them in the national context, don't talk about them in our school books so that everybody interested more or less would know about it, we need to remember about it. We need to remember about all processes that were concerning these or other religious units. And the researcher think that the most healthy are those healthy development will be those nations that remember their past, and so they know their future. They know the direction in which to go. I was listening to all the speeches presented during the conference. I was really impressed. I think it needs to become a process of including of all these historical happenings. Why Western Ukraine? Why Western Belarus? Baltic countries? Because those were new territories that became the part of Soviet Union later, and we remember that from 29, Soviet Union was officially fighting religion. It was class fight was considered class enemy. And now we have like secondary factor. Those were new territories, so new religious organizations, new communities. So the government policy was directed at the destroying anything that could somehow disrupt totalitarian regime. Also, these communities were suspected to have connections to enemy elements. And it did happen, for example, at least once. That during a trial over a Jehovah's Witness in Donbass, he said that he used to be in underground movement of Ukrainian army, Ukrainian National Army. In this moment, the judges understood that they have a person before them, a person who went a long path of shaping his personality, a person who was fighting for his national identity, and now he changed, and now he's fighting for his religious persuasions. So how Jehovah's Witnesses were treated in the Soviet Union was pretty specific. We have already heard about it. So different party members, party structures, Soviet structures, started wondering what to do about Jehovah's Witnesses. And they even got the idea that Jehovah's Witnesses are something very close to communists. And they thought that witnesses would like to build God's kingdom on earth. And that is actually the same that we communists are trying to do. And so they try to imply that Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to do the same. Now we have, according to Ukrainian governmental laws, all religious communities have equal rights, and we are trying to create an environment where every religious community and all Jehovah's Witnesses have had a complete range of these rights and could make use of them. And we religious scholars are raising these questions so that the society had no negative images, no negative myths about Jehovah's Witnesses or other religious communities. This is our task as professionals, to keep building open, democratic, tolerant state. This very conference about 70 years after Operation North, it is a step, one of the steps to keep Ukrainian society tolerant, to open for the society these history pages, and to understand that our modern present situation embraces different religious views, and all of them need to have all rights to openly profess their faith. This makes us different from the totalitarian regimes, including occupied territories in Crimea and Donbass, where unfortunately the old policy is still being kept. We have a question from the viewers.
Які стояли за виселенням під час операції «Північ» 70 років тому і сучасними днями і утисками свідків в Росії.
Do you see similarities between reasons that presented themselves 70 years back and the situation in Russia today? Yes, I see them, because Russia is a country that doesn't part with its imperial ideology, and any empire is always trying to unify itself, to unify existing worldviews. So any tries to rebuild Russian Empire or the Soviet Union, and it tries to recreate the system with unified system, will break with freedom of thought. This lies in the very nature of empire thinking, of these imperial structures. Imperial structures would try to create a unified structure in life. I know it myself because I personally was a prisoner of conscience. So 2 years I was in prison. I myself was in prison because I had a different opinion from those in Donetsk. We appreciate your experience as a prisoner of conscience. Now, after 70 years after deportation, there are fewer and fewer of people who are still remember about what happened and can tell about it. So your experience is important.
Суспільством ще при житті, так би мовити, а не тільки вже через десятки років, коли про них ми будемо дізнаватися.
Now, from your experience, how do you think, is it important for such people to be heard by the society during their life, or not like after tens or dozens of years? Yes, it is very important. Because we need to understand that this was a traumatic experience. A person that went through that, it needs mercy. It expects mercy. It expects that people will listen to what happened. Will listen. The heart of this person needs an open message directed to the society, to public. And we need to keep these people. We need to keep talking about them and with them keep the open conversation.
За вашу думку і за вашу доповідь. Переходимо до наступного спікера. Людмила Fylypovych.
Thank you very much. Lyudmyla Fylypovych is a doctor of philosophy,
Української асоціації релігієзнавців. Будь ласка, Людмила Олександрівна, до слова.
vice president of Ukrainian Association of Religious Scholars.
Знаєте, теж була, напевно, травмована.
Yesterday, I probably got a trauma myself, but the new information which we received during the conference,
які прозвучали у відео і в матеріалах, що нам надав історик Константин Березhko.
especially listening to the materials we received from the historian Kostiantyn Berezhko. And I think I'm a prepared person. I studied the history of religion, and I knew about this history of persecution of many believers. My personal family was also, my family was persecuted. But this brutality with which Stalin was distracting people, killing off people on the territories just recently added to the Soviet Union, I think we will get more information about how many speakers, how many participants. But this conference, from the planned, pretty small event which we wanted to make, became a very large scale event. And many more global questions were raised. Our conference substantiated what was told in Nuremberg. During Nuremberg trials, what was told about anti-human totalitarian regimes. These regimes are using terror, distracting thousands and millions of people. And it makes no difference. Is it a communistic country? Is it a fascist country? Is it a nationalist country? They want to have people under them. They want to oversee all the areas of human life. A human becomes a slave. A human cannot live. It's just an existence. And United Soviet Union is a typical example of such system, making humans to slaves. It is very difficult to understand today because we are trying to rehabilitate Soviet Union. That's what we meet with. In our independent Ukraine, there are still people who dream about coming back of Soviet Union. They cannot sleep well because they think about sausages that costed so little. And for this material, for these sausages, basically, they are ready to sell their souls to get this back in those times. And we are witnesses, not only Jehovah, we are witnesses of this completely soulless regime. All areas of life were being controlled. All religious feelings, all national feelings, all views. The old regime could not exist without terror, without destruction. There were nations that suffered because of their traditions. We can think about Crimean Tatars, about Baltic countries, about Polish people, about Germans. And Stalin just loves Ukrainians, loved. They we had deportations, we had hunger, we had persecutions. So religion and religious life of Ukraine simply didn't let Stalin sleep. So all believers were persecuted.
Української православної православної церкви.
nearly complete hierarchy of Ukrainian National Church, Greek Catholics. They all needed to go underground, and so many were destroyed. Baptists, Adventists were destroyed. But the conference yesterday has shown that a special mass persecution was really directed to Jehovah's Witnesses. Operation North needs to be judged very severely, and not only judged. We need to remember that crimes that were not punished lie the foundation for the return of the old times. The situation can arise that the times could return. And we hope that it doesn't. We hope that it doesn't. We need absolutely to take good care, very good care, of the freedom which we received in the year 91. We need to treat it as our natural right, and it needs from us to pay attention, to protect, to guarantee. We do have experts that work in this area. We have, for example, this journal, Religious Freedom. We are publishing for 30 years. Just recently, we published a brochure, Your Right to Freedom of Thought. We have different analytical groups studying persecution, studying religious persecution in Crimea and in occupied territories. So what lessons can we draw from this? Can we draw from this, from the history, from the deportation? Kostiantyn has said today that witnesses were not destroyed, just the opposite. We know the law. The more it is pressed, the more it grows back. And Zelensky said yesterday that totalitarianism was actually growing better where they did not oppress. So let us raise up to protect our freedoms. We should not keep silent. We need to try to protect our rights. Second important thing, witnesses have shown that they will adapt to any situations, even very negative life situation. They can make the best use of it.
Але, і це ще один урок, тоталітарні режими не є вічними.
Totalitarianism can return, but they are not forever. And I think what we heard yesterday, it told a lot about Russia. Yesterday, I was thinking of Russia, and I think that what Russia is doing to Jehovah's Witnesses today, it is kind of Jehovah's Witnesses created alternative reality alternative to the Soviet reality. So you cannot help but feel deep respect for these people. Yesterday we listened how those non-witnesses were weeping, where witnesses were sent away, how witnesses were kept in respect in Russia. They were merciful, they were helpful. So the experience of Jehovah's Witnesses is important, not only for witnesses. not only for those witnesses that really learned how to survive in very complex political situation. They were mostly called anti-Soviet, but we all, people that are not witnesses, all other churches, all people that appreciate freedom, such strength of faith, such faithfulness to their values, we do not see from the other directions. And so this experience we need to study. The archives from Belarus and Russia are not open. They don't let our researchers to study in all completeness the materials that could witness about persecution. The very interesting question was found yesterday. Very interesting question. Was there any document in archives witnessing that totalitarian regime was feeling sorry about what they did? And historians told us yesterday, no, there are no such document. Those who made these crimes did not realize what they were doing, or documents do not support it. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses and the deportation we are looking into, it is part of our history and it needs to be known. The children need to know it. It needs to go in the school books. The mass media needs to know about it. Just as we did with hunger of the year 33, with the deportation of Crimean Tatars. We are all one. We are united. Igor Anatolovich Kozlovsky mentioned it. Just as a unity, we can reach the truth. We need to show solidarity with witnesses of Crimea, of occupied territory. We need to include other religious organizations that also suffered from totalitarian regimes. Of course, the leading role should be given to experts, our experts, Ukrainian. And we need to shape a new image of a believer, new image of Jehovah's Witness. I would say that this image of Jehovah's Witnesses is still wrong. A believer is really a person you could rely on. Believers are a very great resource for any country. Based on this resource, we can build independent democratical Ukraine.
Чи ви бачите ризик, що в Україні можуть бути переслідування свідків Єгови, як зараз це відбувається в Росії?
Do you see a risk that Jehovah's Witnesses in Ukraine can be persecuted as it is in Russia? Yes, this can happen depending on who is at the lead, who is leading the country. Just remember how was it in the times of Yanukovych? There was something like a cold wind blowing from the north. Yanukovych was listening only to his spiritual father, Zosim. Nobody else could really come close to him.
Оцей баланс сил між силовими структурами і оцією уже агоністичною владою і новими силами.
The same happened during the revolution on Maidan. And just think about what kind of decisions were made about Greek Catholic Church, and only solidarity of all the people that are upholding democratic values. It helped to prevent Greek Catholics, only solidarity of all people. So when we choose our rulers, and we are continuously in the situation of choosing our rulers, please decide and choose your own leaders. Please choose the leaders that will protect you independently of your ethnic situation, of your religion. Please think what you are doing, and all of us need to get up and protect people persecuted, independent of their faith and their nationality.
Що вчора на конференції було присутньо серед спікерів, це 11 спікерів.
Continuing this topic, yesterday we had 11 speakers from 6 countries,
Релігієзнавчої спільноти з Росії.
also from Russia, and they showed solidarity with the messages,
Ми бачимо
with,
різний результат, що в Росії все ж
but we see very different results.
сталося, воно іноді навіть
In Russia, persecution is a part of life, it is happening, it is gaining momentum.
не відбувається. Хоча позиція релігієзнавців
But in European countries, this did not happen. Even though religious scientists are in these countries the same.
науковців, влади, можливо, якихось інших інститутів задля убезпечення або попередження як запобіжник для можливих.
So how do you think the governments and the religious scientists need to work together to prevent or to work together for the needed result?
Переконана, що негативне ставлення можна пояснити незнанням.
Personally, I think that negative attitudes are caused by the lack of knowledge. When the person gets to know different nationality or different religious community better, this person loses this antagonism. So we need to proceed to educate through the mass media, to give this message that we are all people, we all have our values, and these values need to be respected, and you need to respect values of the other person because your freedom also depends on it. We need to use legal instrument. If our legal situation, if our legal structure will persecute hate speech and other intolerancy, if people know that they will be punished, if they will be punished if they develop hate speeches, if there are more information about freedom of speech, freedom of belief, we are living, our state is religious. We have many confessions, many different religious communities. But what do we know? What do we hear? We hear just about orthodoxy and sometimes from Catholics. So if we want to get heard, we need to provide complete and full information. Thank you very much. I would welcome new speaker, Ivan Riher, representative of Jehovah's Witnesses in Ukraine. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you on this conference. I would like to just show some interesting facts that we learned during the preparation for this conference. The history of Jehovah's Witnesses in Ukraine is over 120 years long. We know that witnesses were persecuted in Germany. We know that witnesses are persecuted in Russia. But how many is known about Ukraine? And so one of those unknown pages was a topic for our research yesterday. We are very thankful for the representatives of government from the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, for Ukrainian Association of Religious Studies, from Center of Studies on New Religions, and others that were present yesterday also on our conference. To the scientists from 6 countries, from Europe, from United States. And maybe this pandemic that pushed us to go online and made us to broadcast our program also in Russia. So this program was viewed 53,000 by 53,000 viewers. So we had the facts that are interesting for everybody of us, and they influence our life today and in the future. From my side, getting prepared to this conference, we made an inquiry, and we realized that today we have 130 repressed persons that endured persecutions in different parts of Ukraine. And to keep this unique witnessing, we were really impressed what heavy weight can their words have in the society. So yesterday at the conference, we presented a new site that was specially created to keep these unique words, unique experiences. The site is called 9051deport.org. It is a year of deportation, deport.org. We created this site to make it a platform for the historians, for the researchers that want to learn more about this operation. What I would like to note, when we started working on this topic, we wanted to collect the information in Ukraine only. But as we kept studying this question, we realized that we need to have the complete picture of the Operation Pivnich, because it included Belarus and 3 Baltic countries. So we created a small video, a short video that was yesterday represented. I would like to show now the trailer for this video that is also placed at the site 1951deportation.com, and let us watch the trailer.
Записка МДБ СРСР 19 лютого 1951 року, цілком таємно, Сталіну. МДБ СРСР вважає за необхідне не лише заарештувати керівників єговійської секти, але й виселити з території України, Білорусі, Молдови, Латвії, Литви і Естонії виявлених єговістів сім'ями в Іркутську і Томську області. Загалом виселенню підлягають 8576 осіб, 3048 сімей, із них з Молдавської РСР – 1675 осіб, 670 сімей. З Української РСР – 6140 осіб, 2020 сімей. З Білоруської РСР – 394 особи, 153 сім'ї. З Литовської РСР – 76 осіб, 48 сімей. З Латвійської РСР – 52 особи, 27 сімей. З Естонської РСР – 250 осіб, 130 сімей.
Ви почуєте розповіді очевидців, думку експертів і дізнаєтесь, що довелось пережити простим людям, чия віра в Бога не вписувалась ідеологію Радянського Союзу. Ми запрошуємо вас пройти цей шлях разом з нами.
That was the end of the trailer.
Це відео, яке називається «70 років операції Північ».
This video that is called 70 Years Operation North,
Звістку про те, що репресовані кажуть самі про себе.
it transmits the message what repressed people, a repressed person, tell about themselves. It also shows the expert opinion. The aforementioned site has this video in 3 languages already. To complete the video, we also made a 3D tour, which would allow now, under our pandemic conditions, to watch it without getting out of the room. Before I show the 3D tour, I would like to direct your opinion. I would like to share some specialities with you, some special characteristic.
Показано також масштаби самої депортації.
So at first we show the scale of the deportation itself, how it was for every country. Some very interesting moments from archive documents, how the eyewitness were telling about people deported. They were saying, the best people are deported. People that did nothing wrong, just go to the church and praise God. For example, Anne Tennyson from Estonia,
країні, яка боїться таких ворогів, має бути соромно називатися державою.
A witness of a person he said that a country that are afraid of such people, children, this country should be ashamed to call itself a state. Or children saying, when our own sent us apples, half of them were rotten, but we ate them all. Or a girl saying, 14 years I was carrying wet bricks. Also, our 3D tour includes a video of photo expositions.
Нам вдалося також знайти осіб, які були не з боку репресованих, а з тими, які здійснювали нагляд над репресованими особами.
We could also make pictures and witnessing by persons that from the other side, those who worked for KGB. And one of them, for example, says that witnesses stayed very hard under the repressions and they were not guilty in anything what they were accused. Now I'm showing you a video representing or presenting this 3D exhibition. 1951deport.org.
Сайт 1951deport.org.
We are hoping that this site, video, 3D tour, archive materials published on the site. We are hoping that they will help us not only keep the witnessing of all the repressed persons, also the research,
вони допоможуть нашому сучасному суспільству підтримувати та виявляти толерантність.
We are hoping that it will help our society to keep, to cherish, and to show tolerancy and respect to everybody, independent of their worldviews. Thank you, Pan Ivan. Now the time has come to close our press conference. For our colleagues and journalists, mass media,
виступів наукової конференції ви можете переглянути на YouTube-каналі Операція Північ 3 мовами. Вони є доступні.
YouTube channel has online the conference, and we can watch in 3 languages. Now over 1,100 viewers were viewing our conference. Thank you very much.